For decades, she's been a symbol of strength, hope, and resilience, smiling through every broadcast, lifting others even in their darkest moments. But behind that familiar face, a very different story has been unfolding. At 65, Robin Roberts is facing a chapter of her life few people truly understand. What she has endured, what she has lost, and what she continues to carry has left even longtime fans stunned. And it's far more heartbreaking than anyone imagined. Robin Roberts didn't grow up in the spotlight. She was born in Tuskegee, Alabama in 1960, the youngest of 4 kids in a strict, disciplined household. Her father, Colonel Lawrence E. Roberts, was a member of the legendary Tuskegee Airmen, men who carried the weight of both war and racism on their backs. He rarely spoke of what he had seen, but the way he stood, the way he moved, said it all. Her mother, Lucy Marion, was softer. She filled the house with faith and music, patching together peace where military life left cracks. Together, they created a home built on discipline, love, and unspoken strength. Robin learned early that the world outside their front door wasn't always kind. She grew up in the Deep South during a time when skin color could determine how you were treated, in stores, in schools, and even on sidewalks. She saw the quiet prejudice, felt the stares, noticed the doors that didn't open as easily. But instead of breaking her, it lit a fire inside. That fire would guide her for the rest of her life. Life wasn't always easy. When her family moved to Pass Christian, Mississippi, Robin found herself in a coastal town full of beauty and storms. At just 8 years old, she lived through Hurricane Camille, one of the most violent storms to ever hit the Gulf Coast. She watched roofs fly, trees snap, and neighbors lose everything in a single night. And when the skies cleared, she walked through a neighborhood full of broken memories, understanding something most kids her age didn't. Safety can vanish in an instant, and when it does, you either collapse or rise. Robin chose to rise. She worked hard in school, pushed herself in sports, and carried the lessons her parents gave her like armor. By the time she graduated college, she had one thing in her pocket that mattered more than money: grit. That grit got her through long days in small TV stations where she made barely enough to live. She was often the only black woman in the newsroom, sometimes the only woman at all, but she didn't flinch. She just worked harder, carried her own gear, drove to games alone, and slowly, step by step, she started building the voice that would one day speak to millions. Robin Roberts was known for her steady voice, her warmth on screen, and the way she made millions of people feel seen every single morning. But what most of those people didn't know, at least not at first, was just how much she had already survived. Behind the smile, behind the polished interviews and breaking news headlines, there was a woman who had fought for her life twice and came back stronger both times. It all started with something small, a lump, something that, at first, didn't seem serious, but Robin had always trusted her instincts, and when she felt it, something deep in her said, "Don't ignore this." She got it checked. And then came the words no one is ever ready to hear. It's breast cancer. It was 2007. She was 46 years old. She had just hit her stride in her career. Good Morning America was rising. Oy. Her future looked unstoppable. Until, in one moment, everything shifted. The diagnosis hit like a wave. Fast, hard, and impossible to escape. She kept thinking, this can't be happening now. Not now. But it was. And Robin didn't have the luxury to fall apart. She had a show to do. Millions of people counted on her to show up, so that's what she did. Even while her body was being broken down by surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation, she showed up. There were days she sat in the makeup chair, head spinning from nausea, hair already starting to thin, and she still looked into the camera and said, "Good morning, America." Behind the scenes, it was brutal. Clumps of hair in the shower, mouth sores, the smell of food making her stomach turn. Her body, once strong and athletic, suddenly felt like a stranger, weak, fragile, shaky. But even in those moments, she didn't give up. She wore headscarves. She leaned on chairs when the cameras weren't rolling. She smiled even when smiling hurt. And slowly, she fought her way back. By 2012, she was in remission. She started to breathe again. She started to believe that maybe the worst was behind her. But then something strange began happening. Bruises showed up on her arms for no reason. She felt tired, not just tired, but bone-deep exhaustion, the kind of tired that no nap could fix. She went to the doctor again, and once more, Her life changed with one sentence: "You have MDS." Myelodysplastic syndrome. Most people had never heard of it, but it was serious, deadly serious. A rare bone marrow disorder that meant her body was no longer producing healthy blood cells. And this time, the treatment wasn't just chemo. She needed a bone marrow transplant, a procedure so intense it would wipe out her immune system and rebuild it from scratch. It was risky. It was painful. But it was the only chance she had to survive. And then came the miracle. Her sister, Sally Ann, was a perfect match. When Robin heard the news, she broke down. It was the first time in a long time that she cried from hope instead of fear. Her sister wasn't just giving her marrow, she was giving her life. The transplant happened on September 20th, 2012. It wasn't loud or dramatic, just a quiet room, an IV, and a bag of golden liquid that held her future. As the cells dripped into her bloodstream, Robin whispered, "Please stay." She wasn't just talking to the marrow, she was talking to her own life, her own spirit, the strength that had carried her this far. But the real battle came after. For 100 days, she was in isolation. No hugs, no visitors without masks and gloves, no physical touch. Just her, alone, in a hospital room, fighting a war inside her body. Some nights, alarms went off without warning, doctors rushing in as her blood pressure dropped. Other nights were painfully still, the silence so loud it almost hurt. She stared at the walls, she stared at the ceiling. She prayed. There were moments she thought, "I can't do this." Moments where the pain and fear felt bigger than her hope. Her skin turned pale, her body thinned, her spirit wavered. But every morning, even when she could barely move, she told herself, "Get up. Just get up." Sometimes she only made it to the edge of the bed, but she made it. And slowly, almost shyly, her body began to fight back. Lab numbers inched up. Ours up. Her strength began to return, little by little. A steadier breath, a full night's sleep, a moment where she didn't feel dizzy. It wasn't a sudden recovery. It was a slow climb, one breath, one step at a time. Then came February 20th, 2013, the day she returned to Good Morning America. The lights rose. Her co-hosts welled up, and Robin sat in her chair, looked into the camera, and said, "Good morning, America." That moment wasn't just a greeting. It was a declaration. I'm still here. She had survived 2 diseases that could have taken everything from her, and she had done it in front of the world, not to be a hero, but to be honest, to show others that survival doesn't always look strong. Sometimes it looks like barely holding on. Sometimes it looks like crying in silence. But every moment you keep fighting matters. Robin Roberts didn't just beat cancer, she beat the fear that came with it. She beat the silence. She showed up when her body told her to quit. She leaned on love. She leaned on faith. And she leaned on the unshakable belief that life was still worth fighting for. Her story isn't just about survival. It's about rising, about coming back from the edge and deciding that you still have something to give, something to live for. And today, she carries that strength with her, not just as a memory, but as proof that storms can be survived, even the worst ones. Robin Roberts spent years delivering the news with strength and grace, becoming a face that millions trusted. She showed the world how to survive illness, how to walk through grief, how to keep moving forward when life feels impossible. But behind the camera, there was another part of her story, one she kept hidden for a long time. It wasn't about illness or career. It was about love, a quiet, complicated, and brave kind of love that had to fight to exist. In 2005, Robin was already a rising star. Her days were packed with early wake-ups, tight deadlines, and the pressure of being a Black woman in a space still ruled by expectations and image. She didn't have time for dating, or so she told herself. But one day, a mutual friend set her up on a blind date with someone named Amber Lane. Robin almost canceled. She was tired, overwhelmed, not in the mood for small talk with a stranger. Amber almost canceled too, recovering from heartbreak and not expecting much. But they both showed up. It wasn't lightning, it wasn't sparks. It was something quieter, more real. A sense of comfort, like finding something you didn't know you'd been missing. They talked, laughed, listened, and somewhere between those early conversations, something began to grow. Something safe, something powerful. But for Robin, being in love with a woman came with weight. She had spent her whole life controlling her image. Her job was public. Her face was everywhere. She was beloved by millions, and many of those people came from backgrounds where being gay wasn't just frowned upon, it was rejected. She had worked so hard to build trust. She feared that telling the truth about her love could cost her everything she had built. So she kept it quiet. Amber understood at first. She had her own reasons for staying private, but over time the silence began to ache. Their love had to live in the shadows. Coded texts, careful appearances, separate entrances, and long stretches of distance. From 2005 to 2015, they lived on opposite coasts. Robin in New York, Amber in California. They saw each other when they could, stealing weekends between Robin's schedule and Amber's work as a massage therapist. It was love built through phone calls, red-eye flights, and the kind of patience that breaks some couples before they even get started. There were moments when it almost broke them too. Amber, quietly strong, once said, "I never wanted to be her secret." And Robin never wanted to make her feel that way. But the fear was real. Fear of backlash, fear of rejection, fear of losing what she had spent a lifetime earning. And so, for years, Robin carried two lives. The one on camera, where she gave everything to her audience, and the one at home, where she gave everything she could to Amber. Then, in 2007, cancer changed everything. Robin was diagnosed with breast cancer, and suddenly, everything that had once felt complicated was reduced to one truth. She needed Amber, not just emotionally, physically, spiritually, completely. Amber was there through the chemo, the surgeries, the nights Robin cried on the bathroom floor. She shaved Robin's head when the hair began to fall out. She held her up when she couldn't stand. She whispered encouragement when Robin wanted to give up. That kind of love, the kind that stays through the ugliest moments, became unshakable. Then came 2012 when Robin faced her second diagnosis, MDS, another life-threatening illness, another mountain to climb. Once again, Amber stayed. Even when Robin was in isolation, unable to be touched, Amber pressed her hand to the glass separating them. Love found ways to move through walls. The public still didn't know, but the cracks in the silence began to show. In 2013, after her transplant, Robin posted a message on Facebook thanking her longtime girlfriend Amber. It was the first time she had publicly acknowledged the woman who had been by her side for 8 years. It was quiet, barely noticed by some, but for Robin, it was everything. It was the first time she chose truth over fear. More than a decade into their relationship, something shifted. The world had changed. Robin had changed. And the weight of secrecy no longer felt bearable. Slowly, she began to speak more openly. In interviews, on social media, during speeches, she didn't hide anymore. She spoke Amber's name with pride. She shared glimpses of their life. Their walks with their dog, Lucas, their beach vacations, their laughter. Then, in 2023, they got married. It wasn't flashy. There were no big headlines, no celebrity-packed guest list. Just love. Quiet, strong, real. After 18 years together, they stood side by side and made it official. Their dog wore a bow tie. Close friends gathered. And Robin and Amber, after almost 2 decades of surviving storms together, finally stepped fully into the light. What made their love special wasn't just its length, it was the way it endured. Through years of hiding, through long-distance living, through Robin's illness, through Amber's. Because in 22, life spun again. Amber was diagnosed with breast cancer, the same disease she had helped Robin survive years before. And suddenly, the roles were reversed. Robin was terrified. She later admitted, "I was stronger during my own cancer than during hers." Watching Amber suffer, watching the person who had held her through her darkest nights now face her own storm, was almost too much to bear. But Robin did what Amber once did for her. She showed up, held her hand through chemo, cooked for her, sat in the waiting rooms, whispered, "You've got this," every time Amber needed to hear it. They fought through it, together, again. Now, in 2025, Robin and Amber have been together for 20 years. No children, no huge spotlight, just a steady, resilient love that has outlasted fear, illness, and time. Their story isn't a headline, it's a lesson that the best love stories aren't always loud. Sometimes they're built in quiet kitchens, on red-eye flights, in hospital rooms, and through whispered prayers in the dark. Robin Roberts fought to protect her love. Then she fought to free it. And in doing so, she showed the world something powerful, that love doesn't need permission. It doesn't need applause. It just needs to be chosen every single day, no matter how long it takes to say it out loud. Robin Roberts has always been more than a broadcaster. For decades, people saw her on television every morning, steady and smiling, holding the country together through tragedy, triumph, and everything in between. But what many never saw was the life she built outside the studio, a life shaped by loss, defined by quiet resilience, and anchored by a kind of power that doesn't need to shout to be felt. It started long before the wealth, the fame, the recognition. Robin grew up in a strict but loving household, shaped by the discipline of her military father and the tenderness of her mother. Those early years gave her values that never left her: work hard, speak kindly, and keep showing up. That foundation didn't just guide her career, it carried her through some of the darkest moments of her life. When her father, Colonel Lawrence E. Roberts, passed away suddenly in 2004, Robin was in New York working. The guilt of not being there haunted her. Her father had been her rock, a man of few words but deep strength. He taught her to stand tall, to never give less than her best. Losing him was like losing part of her foundation. She later said that she felt like the ground beneath her had shifted, like the compass she'd always trusted had gone quiet. Then, in 2012, while she was already fighting for her life after being diagnosed with a rare blood disorder, MDS, she got the call no daughter is ever ready for. Her mother, Lusa Marion, was dying. Robin left her treatments behind and flew home, against doctors' advice, just to hold her mother's hand one last time. She arrived in time to say goodbye. Her mother, ever graceful even at the end, told Robin she was proud of her and that it was time to be brave. Hours later, she was gone. Robin returned to New York with a heavy heart and an even heavier battle ahead. But that goodbye, painful as it was, became a source of strength. Her parents' legacy lived on through her, in how she worked, how she treated people, and how she carried herself. Over the years, as Robin became more successful, her financial life changed dramatically. From struggling in small southern towns on tiny paychecks to eventually earning millions at the height of her career, Robin's rise was slow, steady, and earned the hard way. By 2025, her estimated net worth surpassed $55 million. But you wouldn't know it from looking at her. She lives well, but never loudly. Her home in Connecticut is peaceful, not flashy. A modern farmhouse surrounded by trees, with quiet spaces for reading, reflecting, and simply being. Her favorite spot is the kitchen, where she and her wife Amber share slow mornings and laughter over coffee. There's a garden she tends, stone paths where she walks their dog Lucas, and quiet corners where she journals or prays. In Key West, she owns a second home, a retreat by the water. There, she watches the sunset in silence, the ocean breeze brushing away the noise of the world. She and Amber sit on the porch, toes in the sand, hearts full of nothing but gratitude. For them, it's not about grand vacations or red carpets. It's about peace, finally earned. Robin doesn't own yachts. She doesn't post about luxury brands. Her wealth is quiet. It shows up in comfort, in safety, in the ability to take care of those she loves. She once said that her greatest luxury is being able to rest, to wake up without fear, to give without needing recognition. And give she does. Her legacy off camera is perhaps even more powerful than what she built in front of it. Robin has raised millions for cancer research and bone marrow donor programs, especially after her own transplant journey. She sparked an 1,800% increase in donor signups after sharing her diagnosis publicly, a move that wasn't easy but saved lives. She funds scholarships in her parents' names, quietly supports families going through medical crises, and donates to causes without ever making it about herself. Her work is constant but humble. She doesn't chase headlines. She simply helps where she can, when she can. What makes Robin's power so unique is that it doesn't come from controlling others or demanding attention. It comes from presence, from being fully herself, honest, kind, grounded. She listens more than she speaks. She supports without needing applause. And when she speaks, people stop to listen. She has faced death. She has faced grief. She has faced public pressure and private heartbreak. But through all of it, she has kept her spirit intact. Her laugh is still warm. Her faith is still steady. Her eyes still shine with the kind of light that only comes from surviving what was meant to break you. At 65, Robin is no longer chasing success. She is living her legacy. Every day she wakes up beside the woman she loves, walks through homes filled with peace, and chooses to keep giving, keep loving, keep rising. Her story isn't just one of survival, it's a blueprint for grace. In a world that often confuses noise for power, Robin Roberts reminds us that true strength is quiet. It's built in moments of loss, shaped by years of hard work, and measured not in dollars, but in impact. Her legacy isn't just in ratings or awards, it's in lives changed, hope sparked, and the calm strength of a woman who has already faced the worst and still chooses every day to be a light. That is Robin Roberts' legacy. Not just a voice on TV, but a force, a presence, a quiet power that will outlast any broadcast and echo in the hearts of those who are lucky enough to witness it.